We're going to set up a document in Illustrator that allows us to create portrait artwork similar to the style of Andy Warhol. In this Warhol self-portrait from 1986, we can see that he has portraits using different color schemes arranged in a grid-like pattern. Perhaps the most famous of his portraits is this portrait of Marilyn Monroe, showing variations of her image in different colors and arranged in this kind of grid-like pattern. Another example is Warhol's self-portrait from 1966. And this is the one that I did that's in his style. This one has 12 images, and I'm going to show you how to set up your document in Illustrator so that you can create an artwork similar to this. In Illustrator, on a new document with a single artboard, go to File, Place, find a photograph of a portrait. Could be a self-portrait or a portrait of someone else. And what we're going to do is just place this on our document. Now we can resize this. We're going to use image trace, and we're going to turn this raster image made out of pixels into vector art. We're going to do that first. Let's go to image trace, and instead of just clicking on it, let's click this little down arrow, and let's choose 6 colors, because that's very similar to the number of colors that Warhol would have used. It'll allow us to keep his style. All right, so let's click on the image trace panel, open that up. We see we have 6 colors in here. Let's go to advanced, expand that. Now you can play around with these options. What I would try to do is to get the number of anchor points to as small a number as possible while still retaining some detail. So we can simplify this quite a bit by adjusting these sliders. So as we adjust the sliders, we can see that the number of anchor points will change. So if we make paths lower, it takes a while to process, but let's look at the number here. That reduced a bit. If we go all the way to 1, let's see if it reduces even more. So that reduced even farther down. Let's try corners. Trying it again. All right, so in this case, the farther we go to this end, we actually start getting more anchor points. So we need to kind of back off on that. All right, so it just takes some experimenting, but I think it's a good idea to try to get this as low as possible. But, you know, there's a point of about maximum efficiency here, and it's neither too few or too many. So let's try noise. All right, that actually, lowering the noise actually increased the number of anchor points. So let's make that a little bit more. Okay. All right, well, you can keep experimenting with this, but we want to make sure that we don't have too many anchor points because it's going to make our paths really complex. But you can see that right now, this image is what you'd call posterized. It's taken a continuous tone image and it's reduced it to 6 colors. What we can do now is we can expand this so that right now, like if I try to click on any of these paths here, I'm not able to. But if I click expand, I'll be able to select these individual paths. All right, so you can see there's a lot of anchor points here. Okay, so now that we have our raster image converted to vector paths and 6 colors, we can start creating our layout. You notice if I move this artwork around, you can see these pink guidelines. In order for us to create this layout, what we're going to do is create that kind of grid structure, and we want these images to sort of lock together in rows and columns. That's good because it helps us kind of snap or lock our image to certain points. So make sure under view, if you scroll down, you have smart guides on, and I actually think snap to points being on. And when I say on, I mean it's active and it's got a check mark next to it. So my smart guides are active, my snap to point is active. I don't think these will help, but you could certainly experiment with different snapping options to see if it'll make your job easier here. But right now, I think it's important to leave smart guides on. So what we're going to do is make an arrangement of 12 of these images on this artboard. So we can close out of image trace for now. We can make, what I'm doing first of all is I'm going to align this with the corner of this artboard. And if I zoom in, I can be more precise. Make sure that there's no white space. If you click off of it, there shouldn't be any white space showing. All right. And what I can do is Command C on the Mac to copy. If you're on a PC, it's Control C, and then Shift Command V. Again, when I say Command, you're on a PC, it's Control. And that Shift Command V pastes in place. What that does is it pastes the copy that we made directly over the original. So if I hold the Shift key down and then I click and hold the mouse button and drag, I can drag with the Shift key held down, I can drag horizontally. If I let go of the Shift key, then this ends up getting out of alignment. So it's important to hold the Shift key down and then just kind of snap that to the previous image. And we should zoom in and just make sure that this is aligned. If it's misaligned, like let's say it gets off a little bit, then you want to make sure you zoom in and then just kind of align it. And these smart guides will help you snap these together so that they're seamless and aligned. Okay, let's do another one. Command C to copy, Shift Command V to paste in place. Then hold the Shift key down, and we're going to click and then click again to select it, and then drag this over and lock that in place. And again, I think it's a good idea to zoom in, just make sure that it's aligned. There's no gaps there. That looks good. Okay, now this is going off of our artboard. That's okay. We can just select all, just drag a selection over all 3 of these, and then we can hold the Shift key down and drag from one of these corners and just align it like that with the edge of the artboard. And again, I'm just going to zoom in to make sure that it's snapping right to that edge. I don't want to see any white space. Okay, so now what we can do is to make the next row, we want 12 of these total. We've only got 3. So let's drag a selection over all 3, Command C, Shift Command V, click and drag, snap that in place. Again, make sure there's no gaps there. All right, let's do it again. All right, let's do it again. All right, so I've got 12 of these vector images. Now the problem is that it's going outside of our artboard. As you can see, it's going off the artboard. So let's make sure that we drag a selection over this entire thing, the entire array of images here, and go to Object, scroll down, go to Artboards, and choose Fit Selected Art. And now that artboard has resized automatically to the size of our image, and we're ready to go. So now what we're going to do is we're going to click on these individual images, and we can go to this recolor artwork button, click on that, and well, let's move this over to the side so we can see it better. We can zoom in a bit, and now let's try it. So we'll go to recolor artwork, and we have a lot of options here. You can experiment with these various options. There's another video that I'm going to link to, a tutorial that shows you all the basics of working in this window. But I find for recoloring these portraits, for me at least, the easiest is to go to this edit button and to drag these little like little color nodes around. And I find that this is, for me, this was the easiest way that I found that I can experiment with color.